Jackson gave me the news of a planet far away. And Colonel O'Neill will assemble a team that will try to save the day. Dr. Sam has a master plan and a science attitude. And the job for Jill, he's part of the deal with his trusty Goa'uld. It's just a regular day at Stargate Command, and it might be hard to understand.
Chevron 1 encoded. Chevron 2 encoded. Chevron 3 encoded. Chevron 4 encoded. Oh no, this is gonna happen. Chevron 5 encoded. Chevron 6 encoded. Chevron 7 what? We have a stable world.
Hello.
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 Hi.
Hi, ladies. How are you?
Oh my gosh. We're great. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Really well indeed. Where are you all?
All over. I'm in Pennsylvania, so East
Right.
Coast US.
So
I'm
it's
in-
like what, 3 in the afternoon?
It's
You know?
3, yeah. I'm in South Carolina, but it's the same time zone.
Right.
And
Cool
then-
background. Sorry.
I know I'm just I tried that background on me. It doesn't work for me. So it's just she gets speaking. I turn into the Stargate when I try to do it. So we're not doing that again.
I was just wondering where I'd left it.
I'm in California, so it's noon for me here, so we're all over.
Okay, cool. Well, it's nighttime for me, and normally when I do my own show, I drink water, but tonight I'm having a scotch.
Yay.
Oh, yay! Appreciate that. Yeah,
So, hey ho.
Hey, we so much appreciate you being here and taking this time with us. It's so exciting.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for asking me. I think it's really, if there's one thing, I guess, that COVID has given us, it's that there's an opportunity for people to kind of reach out and chat and be much more connected. And I think that the fandom of Stargate is like a family. They're so incredible. I have to apologize for my hair. It's like I've been working, so they've been
You're
like
beautiful.
They've been like teasing it and moving it. So it's got so much hairspray in it, and I was like, "Do I have time to wash it?" And I was like, "Nah, it'll be all right." It's voice
great.
only, right?
It looks great.
Yeah, you look great. Look, this is like I just dropped my kid off at school and got here to get here. So you're doing great.
Woohoo!
Amazing. Oh, it's amazing.
All right.
So I'm going to officially kick things off. I have a formal introduction for you.
Okay. Okay.
So
I'm excited.
we would like to welcome everyone back to Three Fries Short. We are unearthing the Stargate with a very special guest. You know her as the actress who played Hathor and the host of her very own podcast interview show, Hathor Hosts. Please welcome the lovely and radiant Miss Suanne Braun.
Yay.
Welcome.
Yay.
Welcome. We are
Thank
so grateful
you.
to have you with us. When we started doing this podcast, it was just out of a simple love for the show. We weren't looking to like get anything crazy come out of it. And I can personally say never in a million years would I thought that we'll be sitting down and talking with someone who's actually been on the show. So we're so grateful. We're so happy to have you with us. And we would like to introduce ourselves to you because we've only communicated through email so far. So you're probably like, who the heck am I talking to right now?
Please do.
But we also don't like talking about ourselves, so we're making each other introduce each other.
Yeah.
Good plan.
So I would like to start by introducing Rebecca, the face of our show. She was the one that reached out to you through email. She was behind all of that. Rebecca is a filmmaker with a day job as an EMT. So after co-writing and directing her first feature film, a queer sci-fi indie film in December, and working on an ambulance through Christmas, COVID caught up to her.
Oh.
So while she was sick, she did a full rewatch of Stargate SG-1, COVID brain and all. She couldn't really focus on anything else. And she actually tweeted you about how Stargate and the badass ladies were getting her through, and you responded to her. So she was so grateful for that. It made her day. but she thought to look up Stargate on TikTok one day and was sitting on the couch just throwing a COVID pity party for herself and found the wonderful community of Stargate TikTok, among other hashtags, hashtag Stargate TikTok. They gave her the confidence to start doing cosplay videos, which are some of her primary content on the app. It also led herself to myself and Christina and the birth of our lovely podcast. So that is Rebecca.
Hi.
Woohoo. Hi, Rebecca. Wow, that's really quite an introduction. Are you all better now? You're all kind of over COVID.
I am. It took, I was stuck in my basement for 2.5 weeks with it. And the brain fog was like seriously one of the worst things about it, other than I felt like in my way, it just felt like a really terrible sinus infection with fever and stuff. But got over it, got back on the ambulance within 3 weeks. And it's just, getting kind of my energy level back up and everything. But now I've been doing fine ever since kind of the end of January. So.
Oh, good. I just had my second jab today. So
Excellent.
I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
Excellent.
yes.
I
So
just
now
scheduled mine.
I'm plugged into the matrix. I can see in colors.
I tell people I'm the one that got COVID in between my 2 vaccine shots, because I got my first one on Christmas Eve, and then 3 days later started feeling sick, and then
Oh,
so
shit.
yeah,
Wow.
Right.
it was pretty bad timing, but I'm kind of surprised it took all year, because we worked, I worked full time all year.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, I'm
that's
glad you're all better now.
I'm and in a lot of ways I don't think I would have sat and thought to like look up Stargate on TikTok had I not been sick sitting on my couch. So it actually worked out great. All right. Well, I guess I'll go now that I've been introduced, and I'm going to introduce Christina, who is there.
Hi, Christina.
Christina
Hello.
is first and foremost a mom to a beautiful 7-year-old transgender daughter. And when she's not
Amazing.
working or sleeping, she's actively involved in advocating for trans youth. She does spend most of her days as an internal consultant for a company, helping retail leaders grow stronger teams. With COVID crashing the retail industry to a halt, she had to find other ways to fill her days. Enter TikTok. So this is a very common story with all of us.
This is how we know each other. So none of us knew about TikTok, and then we knew about TikTok and we found each other, and we found Stargate on TikTok, and we're like, what is this? So we'll tell you more about it. But yeah, this is how we know each other.
So what started as a joke to cure her boredom became a family of Stargate and other fandoms. She's reopened her love for the show and the characters that have taken hold of her heart. First watched Stargate back in the 2000s and have been trying to recruit new fans along the way. TikTok really blew her away at how alive and well the fandom is, especially their love for Hathor.
Seriously, girl.
Oh my God. Oh no, don't tell me that. There's like one more app I've got to get on. I'm like, oh.
So many people cosplay you, and it's so good. They look amazing. They dress up like you. It's so amazing.
As long as they don't look better than me, I won't have that. No, I'm only kidding. I'm
Never.
only kidding.
So that makes her super excited to have you with us today. Your character is one that's held its own, even only in a few episodes, which is really impressive. And I think, that speaks to you as well. And you brought magic to her, and we're so eager to have dialogue with you. So
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Likewise.
Yeah,
And, lovely to meet you, Christina.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for letting us do this. I just think it's helpful to just kind of know before we go into it. So yeah. But yes, TikTok, and I know it's hard because it's an app that I'm hearing you don't have, but it is where we've been able to, we all stumbled upon it, and you are alive and well on TikTok. I will tell you this.
Woohoo! Well, maybe
yeah.
it's time to join.
Yeah, just stalk in the background. We'll give you.
Yeah.
we'll give you
highlights of
tips and
what's happening.
tricks. It's, we'll
Okay.
help you.
We got you.
Okay.
But okay.
Holding
so
you to that, girls.
we will. We'll get you in there.
Okay.
We have our own little like Stargate family on there, and they're
Christina
awesome.
has like 20,000 followers. She's got the hookup.
Woohoo! Awesome.
Like nothing, but they're all Stargate fans. They're all Stargate.
Right.
Like they only come from my Stargate
Ah.
content, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, they're the whole reason that we started this podcast, because they asked us to do it because nobody was talking about it in a new way. So anyway, all right. So I'm going to go around and introduce Sarah. And just
Hi.
give a highlight on her. So Sarah says, so she grew up watching Stargate. It was airing when she was in elementary school, so it makes me feel really old.
Me too. Don't worry.
Yep, I feel
Me
really old.
too.
But she was a baby, and she watched it all the way until she was in high school. It was a really big staple show for her and her dad and her sisters, and they always watched it. It was always a show that she would revisit. Definitely that comfort. So for her, Stargate is central to like her entire growing up.
For sure.
Rediscovered Stargate again through TikTok, like we were just talking about. She made a video about a Stargate necklace that she had, and that's what people connected to, and it really went viral. And that's how we kind of found people, or she found people. So she started doing more TikTok videos, just doing rewatches of Stargate and kind of posting it and giving commentary. And that's where she started to get her following. So we call her the eye in the sky. There's a filter. She literally would just give commentary. It's the most hysterical thing you've ever heard in your life. So if you ever want to get into it, listen to Sarah's commentary.
Oh gosh.
But her thing is she loves to make people laugh, and the content that she creates is really about finding and rediscovering Stargate. And for her, even to this day, she thinks we can take away important lessons and themes from the show. And a lot of our podcast is about those themes that we feel like are in the show that resonate throughout like the generations and throughout the centuries. So it's pretty cool stuff we've gotten to talk about. And for Sarah, shows and movies like Stargate can have a very profound impact on us as individuals and as a culture. And she likes to examine our own humanity through the art we create. So that's kind of about Sarah and kind of how we came into it. So
amazing. Yeah. You even got your Stargate sweatshirt on there.
Yes.
O'Neill, Carter, Jackson, Teal, and
all of
Hathor's
them
on the back.
You should put Hathor on the back now. That's what has to happen.
Oh, and Hammond.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely, Dawn. I'm having a scotch for you, Dawn.
Yes.
Aww.
Cheers.
All right, so Sarah's going to kind of circle us back, get us kicked off because we have a little lovely introduction for you as well, and then we're going to get kind of into some of our talking points and just have a discussion.
Well, I already read.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm already like, just kidding. Don't mind me.
I was like, I think we've done the introduction, haven't we? I was like, am I getting old?
No, it's me. It's me.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay.
Erase that. We did.
Yeah, we'll cut that bit out.
No.
So
Don't worry.
Nothing's getting cut out. Sorry.
That's fine. I'm all for that.
Rebecca's like, it's all or nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is, I always say to people, like, part of the joy of podcasts and watching live TV or live podcasting is that shit happens. I was in the middle of a Hathor hosts 2 weeks ago with lovely Andy Frizzell, who's currently in Thailand. So for me, it was the daytime. It was the only time we could do it. So it was the middle of the afternoon. And our doorbell went, and it was the Amazon driver. And I was like, excuse me, I'll be right back. I just have to get and I mean, I think you have to address it rather than pretend it's not happening. I think just, roll with the punches. And
Absolutely.
that's the thing. It's live. It's live.
Oh,
so
right before you joined, my cat was, of course, like right in front. And I was like having a talk with her. I'm like, don't blow this for me. Don't embarrass me.
Oh,
she's probably.
So she might make an appearance.
That's right. She can.
But I would like to start off by asking if you could tell us about your experience working on Stargate. I'm sure you've told this story 100 times, but was there anything that surprised you about your time on the show, whether it was on set or behind the scenes? And what were some of your favorite things about being on the show?
So there's quite a lot there, but I think one of the things to remember is that when I was on the show, it was brand new. So like really the Hathor episode was kind of season 1. Mm-hmm. And how it works when you're an actor, you kind of get a call, you audition for something, you either get it or you don't. And when you get it, at that stage, I mean, I obviously knew who Rick was because I kind of grew up watching MacGyver and stuff. But I didn't really, I hadn't really watched much sci-fi at that point. I didn't really know. I mean, I knew that it was a sci-fi show, but they hadn't really told me much about the character. when I auditioned, it was all very secretive, and they were like, they just handed me the sides, and they were like, I remember looking at it, and I said to the casting director, so is she a queen or something? Because she's referring to herself as we, or is she crazy? And he was like, well, I want you to play a version where you do both. And I was like, okay. And then the other thing was, like, at the audition, there were all these women dressed in like really sexy outfits, and I'd broken my toe, so I couldn't wear shoes. And thank God it was summer. It was like July in LA. So I think I had flip-flops on or something and a pair of trousers, and basically arrived, and I was like, I'm never going to get this because everyone is so glamorous. And then I read it, and I was like, I'm just going to play this as if she is the most powerful woman in the world, like the universe. And I just remember I sort of like spread my arms in the chair and kind of sat back. And they gave us, I think the audition scene was the bit when she first comes up, when they come to her in the like sort of when Daniel goes, do we really, are the binds necessary and all that sort of thing. And she's kind of scoping everybody out. And I just completely played it as if I was royalty and quite arrogant with it. And afterwards, Michael Greenberg, who was one of the executive producers at that stage, said to me, it was astonishing. It was in the days of like sending VHS tapes up to Vancouver. And he was like, we saw so many women who were like, oh, they were all playing it like, oh, I'm so that's sexy, isn't it? Wow. They were all like, oh my God, I'm just like so hot, like kind of. And he said, you just completely went utterly the other way, and everybody went, whoa, that's kind of interesting. So I guess that's kind of interesting. And then I got there, and I remember there was a line in one of the scripts, one of the first drafts, that said something about Hathor is the most beautiful woman in the universe. And I was like, shit, okay, no pressure. And then I hadn't met all the team. And my very first introduction with Richard Dean Anderson, and this is a true story, they couldn't decide if they wanted to use a wig or my own hair. They had this idea of her being quite sort of Egyptian, and so at this stage, they were thinking of trying to do my own hair, but as you can see, my hair is curly, so it wasn't quite working. Anyway, I had like a head full of curlers, no makeup on, because I was like halfway through, dressing gown on. So I'm in a robe and slippers, like half the costume on underneath that, no makeup, hair in curlers. And I'd just taken a bite out of a bagel when this person tapped me on the shoulder, was like, hey, I'm Rick. And I was like, oh no. I'm the most beautiful woman in the universe, don't you know?
Oh my God.
Mortified. And he was kind of like, huh, okay. But they all welcomed me. Like right away, I never felt, and I know this sounds really stupid, but I never felt like a guest star. I was instantly, especially by the women, especially Terrell and Amanda, who I love and adore to this day, both been on my show. We stay in touch like separately prior to all this, the shitstorm that has been COVID. But they've just been amazing and were amazing and welcomed me into the fold instantly. And then I kind of, as the week went on, because we filmed for about a week and a half, I think I kind of settled into it. I relaxed into it because I was so kind of nervous the first few days. But of course, then you start going, everybody was like, that's great, keep doing that, love what you're doing. And then you start to play, and you start to discover this woman. And I'm so delighted that the character struck a nerve. I mean, no one is more surprised than I am that something like 25 years?
Something like that, yeah. I think.
Yeah, and I'm still, even today, I received probably 6 messages on Twitter today going, Hathor needs a spin-off. Why didn't they use more of you? Why didn't you come back? And I'm like, don't ask me. I don't know why. But so I had a great time. I had a really good time. I was really well taken care of. I loved the character. And then I was only meant to do like one episode. And then like they obviously got towards the end of the first season. And I got I guess it wasn't an email. It was was it an email? Anyway, a carrier pigeon.
fax?
I was gonna say,
Did you
like
get a fax?
like a telegram.
Probably a fax, or maybe even a carrier pigeon in those days.
Morse code.
A horse, my lady, a message for you from the castle. They come bringing word. You will need it again. Anyway, so off I go. I get a message to say that the episode has tested through the roof and people love the character, and can I come back for this like season 1 finale, season 2 opener, or 2 or 3 or whatever it was. I can't remember now. And I then thought there was talk that she might become a recurring character, and I was very excited. And then all of a sudden I died.
And then she
So
got chucked into the cold.
The ice pit,
whatever,
yes,
yeah.
but we never saw her die. That's
Nope.
what I've clung to vociferously and with my toenails, like for all this time, like we never saw her die.
I mean, they've impossibly brought way more impossible people back on.
Right?
TV, so.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So that was a bit of a shock and a disappointment, but also I totally, and especially now, having been in the industry so many more years, I kind of completely understand showrunners and producers and writers have a vision, and a very clear vision of what they want their show to do and the trajectory they want that show to take. And obviously that was just not it at the time, but I'm so thrilled that she somehow touched a nerve and that people are still dig Hathor, like she's still mentioned. And somebody said to me the other day, when you Google the Goa'uld, like it's your face that comes up first. And I was like, yeah, damn right.
Yep.
I think one of the things I remember not enjoying was the costume, which I've also talked about at length. Yeah.
Oh, do tell. We're here. We're all about
Well, the costume was, interestingly, I don't know if you guys follow the fantastic Joe Malopsy on Twitter, and he very often releases drawings and original artwork from the show.
Mhm.
And he very recently released, I might even have it on my phone somewhere, he released some photos. While I talk, I'm just going to look for them, of what the original concept was for Hathor, for her costume. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't end up wearing that, because effectively it's a coat hanger. It looks like a wire coat hanger. I mean, there was like just 2 little metal doily thingies and then a wire down here.
Wow.
Some sort of very little in the front and just nothing on the back. That was it.
I guess that was still during the
so
seasons that it was on
Showtime.
Showtime. So
Exactly.
I guess they could have gotten away with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank God the costume mistress, who was amazing, was just like, I don't think so. But as it is, the dress was, there were just like endless issues. I just remember, so the main dress, the kind of one with the red, was so tight that they had to sew me into it. So I had to be like really careful with loo breaks for the day. And, you're in it for like 14, 15 hours. And it was very heavily boned all the way down the sides and down the back. So I couldn't really sit in it. If I sat, like the boning would go up. So they got exactly to me like, I'm here. So they got me a kind of a trolley to sort of lean on, that I could
Like
take
Hannibal
the weight
Lecter, or
like Hannibal Lecter, very similar. So that I could lean on my trolley and kind of take the weight off my, but it didn't really help because what you wanted to do was sit. So that was the first issue. And then it had like these little ties around the neck that they did fix on the second day. But on the first day, they were just made out of little tiny metal blocks, and they just kept pinching my skin every time I turned to move.
Oh, yeah.
They would be a bit, they would just be like, oh, so uncomfortable. And then they put ribbon underneath, so that helped. And then I really struggled to kind of breathe in it. It was very difficult to be, and her whole energy was quite sort of flowing and quite sensual and slow. And I was like, I felt aware that I was doing that all the time, kind of thing. And then the second part, when she rips the dress off, I was just like, I have to wear that? Because of course, when it got wet, the whole thing hung down, and then the little flappy bits would go between my legs and look like I'd kind of, when I was getting out of the water, it looked like I'd taken a dump in the water. It was not. Sorry, I was trying to think of a delicate way to say that.
You don't have to be
delicate.
delicate. It's fine.
We're not delicate here.
So yeah, the costume was endlessly challenging, but it looked great, which is quite interesting, because now I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, it looked quite good. And then I think the second episode, or my second appearance, not second episode, I quite liked that cape thing, and they'd fixed the dress quite a lot. I got a better wig.
There you go.
So who knows, if I'd recurred, I maybe might have ended up wearing something fantastic. But
gradually progresses into this amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
You definitely couldn't tell that it was uncomfortable at all. Like looking at it, you could not tell.
Oh, well, that's good.
But now I'm going to rewatch it, and I'm going to be like,
yeah,
I'm going to look for signs.
I'll tell you where you can see it. Here's a little Easter egg. When I'm coming down the spiral staircase, so that was terrifying. That was my first scene that we shot, and everyone was in the room. So all the, obviously all the crew and director and all the producers, and then like all the lead cast, lovely Dawn and everyone. And it says in the script that she kind of comes down these stairs almost as if she's floating. And the director said to me, I don't want you to look. Don't hold on and don't look. And I was like, are you kidding?
What?
I'm like, have you met me? I'm like, I just nearly chugged over a bagel 5 minutes ago. I'm like, I'm not good with props. And I just remember thinking, Jesus, Suanne, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. So I think I'm walking. I mean, I can't remember because I haven't watched it for a long time, but I remember when it first came out, I was like, ooh, I can see. I mean, hopefully it sort of looks like I'm in control, but it's quite sort of reticent. Like it's like I'm going, oh God, please don't miss a step, don't miss a step, don't miss a step.
Oh, God. Oh no.
Oh dear.
So I have a question. So obviously thinking about the comfortability of that, so that is on the end of being highly uncomfortable, but like, what's your favorite that you've ever, in any of your work you've ever done? What's your favorite costume you've ever been able to wear in any of your theater or shows?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like I have quite bad luck with costumes from a comfort point of view.
Oh, no.
Because if the costume is lovely, the shoes will be awful, or vice versa. I seem to I have yet to wear a costume where I'm just like, I love this. So I did a musical here in London 3 years ago, 2018, called Fanatical. And actually it's a sci-fi musical. Ooh. It's all about a woman putting on a convention, and I played the con organizer called Trix. And she basically puts on this convention for this, there's a fictitious show in the musical called Angel 8. And she has the writer of Angel 8 come over, and of course he doesn't turn up, and she's freaking out and getting more and more hysterical, and all the fans are arriving. And then the kind of end of Act 1 ends where he arrives, but he's drunk and disorderly, and she's like, oh my God. And then there's sort of like in the second half, he kind of tells them that the show's rubbish and it's all terrible, and he hates it, and he hates sci-fi, and he kind of like pisses off the fans. And then in true musical fashion, the fans get together and they kind of help him rewrite the ending, and everybody lives happily ever after. So that costume was really comfy because it was a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and a lanyard and trainers, which was great. But
love it.
Right at the end of the show, and I lost so much weight during that production because I spent the whole time running, because her energy was quite manic anyway. Plus it's a 2-hour musical. And then just lots of singing and dancing. But at the end of the show, there was a very, very quick change into sort of one of the lead characters in Angel 8. She becomes like the captain. So I had this insane headdress, which I could not see out of. And I was, by this point, sweating. And I had something like, I can't even remember, like 30 seconds to get into this costume. And it was boots, big, thick, thigh-high boots, very tight corset, and then this ridiculous headdress that I could only see by looking right down. Thankfully that came off, but I had to walk quite a way. So I had to, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So I've had, an hour and a half, 2 hours in a very comfortable outfit. And then now I can't see, and it would fog up and everything. So But the first half, that was probably the most comfy and probably closest to
Awesome.
me, like jeans and a t-shirt, you know.
I love that. I love that. But yeah, they can't have you be comfy the whole time. They had to throw it on you at the end.
Right, exactly,
course.
exactly.
On that related note, I have a related TikTok video. So we put a call out to our TikTok friends and family about any comments, questions, statements that they wanted to present to you. And I'm going to attempt this screen share so that you can actually see the video. So let me see if I
awesome.
can make this happen. This is the first one, but this is a TikToker. Her username is Ida Valor, and it is specifically in regards to Hathor's metal bikini. So see if we can make this work. I'm gonna share this and share.
Oh, yay.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Wow, first of all, just super exciting. Congratulations to you guys. It's also really sweet of you to reach out to all the rest of us. Thank you. I will try to keep this to one video. I don't think I have too many questions. My first one is a more lighthearted one. I'm very curious to know her thoughts on her costume piece, because we talk a lot about how like women are portrayed in this show, and a lot of times, especially in the early seasons, how they're not portrayed great. And Hathor's costume is very wow. But also, as a viewer, everyone I know my age always had the Princess Leia fantasy in the metal bikini, but for me, it's always been the Hathor metal bikini fantasy. So, I mean, I know women's rights, all of that, I'm all for that, but also Hathor's metal bikini. So I'm curious to know, as a woman, what were her thoughts being put in that costume?
So there you have it.
Yay.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I have to try and find, if I can't find it now, I will find it and tweet it to show you guys. But what the original costume is going to look like, bear with me while I will talk, but while I'm looking down.
Perfectly.
What did I mean, you know, it's a hard thing because on one hand, as Suanne, I'm always slightly self-conscious because I suppose we all are, you know, sort of think, oh, that's not the most flattering, or, oh, I wish they'd covered this part of my body. But there's something weird that happens when you become a character. Like certainly when I step on a stage or on a sound stage, you just become the character. And I didn't care. Like it was so interesting. I vividly remember putting on the metal bikini like the day of the bath shots, and I was like, oh my God, everyone's going to be there. And I was 20, I was much younger than I am now, so I really cared about everything. And I was like, oh God, everyone's going to look at me and they're all going to think I'm so ugly and so ridiculous, you know, what a waste of energy. And somehow, and then they kind of take you to set in a robe, and you know, and then it was like holding the robe up, and I was almost like, oh no, keep the robe up, I don't want to. And then the minute I got in the water and they put in the like weird lava prawns and I sort of sat back in the bathtub and I was like, fuck it. And that was it. And it just, you know, the minute you become the character, like I can always see, I interestingly went to see something recently and I could tell there was a moment where the actor suddenly became really self-conscious in their outfit as themselves. I don't know what the reason was, but in that moment I was like, oh, like, because it's so obvious when it's the person and not the character, you know. But yeah, once I was in costume, I didn't really care. I was able to see past it. I mean, you know, it's a hard thing. People talk about the costumes in sci-fi. I can't find this now. I don't know where it is. Is that it? No. And
it's okay. I can if you
well, I'll find. Yeah, remind me, and I'll send it to you. Yeah,
edit it in there somehow. So
yeah. But, you know, people talk about the costumes, and I know in the first seasons it was always quite, you know, there's always all the women talk about the puff and ruffle. You guys must have heard about the puff and ruffle and how every time a woman came on set, everyone was like, hey, baby, you know. But I sort of think, as an actor, I've had that my whole career. I mean, it's just sort of been, goes without saying that if you are the young, and especially if you are an actress who's kind of played any kind of role where you're attractive or like the pretty ones. In other words, where you're not the funny friend, any role where you're the leading lady or anything like that, it's just an unwritten rule that you're going to end up in some sort of revealing costume at some point. My husband and I have been rewatching Entourage, the series Entourage. And it's a great series, but my God, I said to him, it's really interesting because they would never get away with half the shit that they say on that show now. It is so sexist. And every single episode ends with a woman either with her breasts out or in a scantily, like really scantily clad. And the men, you never see anything. It's really very clearly of its time. I mean, it's still a great story. And, having lived in LA, it's very true to the business. But, I think you have to sort of accept that if you play certain roles, those are going to be your costumes for a while.
Sure.
I do think, that said, I'm so delighted to say I think the industry is really changing. And I think the last 5 or 6 years have been the most positive in this business ever. And certainly like with movements like the Me Too and Black Lives Matter as well, because people have suddenly gone, well, hang on a minute, why, if people are being badly represented, now also so much more inclusivity with trans, thank God. Yes. Do you know what I mean? I think that,
yeah.
And also like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I don't want to sit and watch a program where everybody looks like me. How dull. Boring. I want to see things that are different and interesting and varied. That's what makes life interesting, I think.
And we've on the other side of that definitely talked about, how horrible it must be for the people who watch a show and no one looks like them and no one is like them.
100%.
And how that's got to be terrible because, we talk about how we're all white women. I mean, we're women, but we're white women. And so we have no way of understanding that struggle as much.
Well, to a degree, I think I agree in terms of our race, but like as a woman in this industry over 50, I can tell you right now, I am underrepresented because everybody goes, oh, what? Hang on, what? You don't look like that's what? No. We were 50 in the movies is, hello, I'm old and 50 and let me just get my glasses. Or if it's British television, it's like, oh my God, I'm a menopausal woman. Oh, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It's such a limited way of representing older women in general. And we contribute a massive, massive amount to the industry, both in retail and buying of tickets and what we consume. So as consumers and as educators. And also I'm like, my God, we've been fed bullshit since we were 18 about how we have to look 15, 16 younger. I think when you hit a certain age, show a little respect, I
mean, I think we age beautifully, and I would rather look how I look now in my late 30s than I did when I was 18. I would never want to go back, but why am I forced to chase that? And we're not allowed, we don't give that mental state of allowing ourselves to grow into our beauty internally and externally. Like it's just not, we're just chasing a pipe dream. And it perpetuates us into this consumerism mindset of just buying after all these other products rather than just embracing and being happy with where we are, like who we are.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, I would quite like to have my ass from when I was 20 and 25. But I think the thing is, it's more for me about like being made to feel, and this is sort of universal, it's not just in the industry, like for women, and I think men now, much more so than ever before, but like being made to feel like there's something wrong with you if you're getting older. Like that the first sign of a wrinkle, they said like, oh, there's a cream for that. Oh God, you've got to go and have a treatment to sort that out. Oh, no, you can't have that. That's not, And I was like, that's such bullshit. Like you don't just stop getting interesting because you turned 40 or even, anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
No, it's great. You rolled in a little bit into like one of the questions that we had, which is what is different for a woman in the industry now versus, when you first started? And, you talked about, especially in the last 5 years, a lot of changes happened. I know the film that I just finished directing, we had primarily women, trans, non-binary, people of color, everybody in front of the camera and also behind the camera. And we made that a very conscious decision. So I was curious if you're seeing that kind of, because we were a little tiny indie film, but like, are you seeing that on that bigger scale too? Are you seeing those efforts being put forward?
Yeah, 100%. And across the board, from casting to crew to writing. And I think it's really essential to have that now. And also, I think like even sort of the industry has changed in terms of, I was thinking about this the other day, like there's a show called Normal People. I don't know if you guys have heard of that or seen it. It sort of became a really massive hit during lockdown. And it's about a couple who fall in love, a young girl and boy who fall in love. And then it's kind of them throughout their lives. It's like about first loves. It's really beautiful. But both of them in it, it was kind of one of their, certainly her, it was one of her first big jobs. And she spends an inordinate amount of time in it naked. And she's a beautiful 20-year-old girl, but, obviously because it's about this first kind of sexual relationship and then your first love affair and how the first love of your life is always one that kind of has a deep impact. Anyway, when they were talking, she was in an interview and she was talking about how fantastic the intimacy coordinator was. And I was like, 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, that title did not exist. I remember having to do topless scenes and literally like on the day where you had to whip your top off, suddenly there was like double the amount of crew. No one was kind of going, do you know what, guys, let's just have a kind of skeleton crew today.
Set off a little
and
bit. Yeah.
And now it's like, absolutely, there is someone's job to be like, okay, this is how, and she said like she and the other actor spent a lot of time together, but because this person was so brilliant with them, she said all the anxiety was taken away, because if we were ever uncomfortable, we would go to the intimacy coordinator who would clear the set. It was always closed. They respected our privacy immensely. Sorry, I'm just moving my computer for a second. They got the job done. And I think like, that's a massive, massive move forward. And I think also just having men be much more aware, in general, like I was on a set in December, January, February, and guys are asking questions and being much more open to things. And I think that's great, because we're not always going to get it right. All of us, I think this isn't about women versus men or anything. No. I think it's about everybody kind of going, okay, we're not in the 1970s anymore. We can't get away with saying stuff like that, nor do we want to. But that doesn't mean that you can't make a joke occasionally, well, around me anyway. Because I've also seen it swing the other way, where like a guy will say something and be like, oh my God, have I offended you? Are you going to report me? Are you going to take me to HR? Please don't. And you're like, oh, relax, It's also, I think you as an individual should have a pretty good idea when you're making someone uncomfortable. If you're looking at her face and she's like, she's not comfortable. So it's like, it's not rocket science. So I think that's, but I think there have been massive strides in the industry, and long may they continue. And I think also that's largely because we've got so many more women on sets now, thank God. There are women writing more and directing and producing. And it's not that they haven't been there before. They've been there for years. It's just that for the first time, I think there's been much more inclusivity and going, oh, actually, but we still have a ways to go. Yes. Like at the Academy Awards, there was like no women nominated for Best Director, or I think there was one. So there's still a ways to go.
For sure.
But that's okay. Yeah. We're in it for the long haul.
We're getting there. We're
getting there. Exactly.
That kind of leads into the next question that we have, because we've talked about how science fiction we feel is like a very progressive genre, and even as far back as like Star Trek, the original series, it was breaking down a lot of barriers, whether they're cultural, racial, gender related. So what do you think the genre of sci-fi has done for women or other minorities, like the LGBTQ plus community or other races?
I think it's probably in one of the front runners, and forefathers of inclusivity. And I don't know if that's, and it's interesting because I never really watched sci-fi that much, even now, until I started doing Hathor Hosts. And then because the research is so intense, and obviously as the time went on, you're like, oh, that's that person from that show. And then you see the show on TV, you're like, oh, I know what happens. I've seen this episode. You know? But I think that one message that sort of keeps coming out, certainly in my experience from it, is that the fandoms, whether you love Supernatural or in our case, Stargate, the fandoms are so loyal and so supportive. And I don't just mean of the actors and the writers and the people in front of the camera or the production, but of one another. Look at you guys. You all met through TikTok and your love of this show. You've already shown me one person talking about a character I played. And it's that sort of 6 degrees of separation. So I think sci-fi has been miraculous in its ability to include people that have never really been represented or have been underrepresented for a very long time. I think now finally mainstream television is catching up. And I mean, that's certainly been my experience. I don't know if other people may have been on shows and felt differently. I can only speak for my experience. And I think that sci-fi has been pretty miraculous in its ability and in leading the way, kind of charging the light brigade with including everyone, no matter what your race, your religion, your sex, whatever. That's what I think.
Well, and go ahead.
Sorry. Speaking of research, I was watching your episodes of Hathor Hosts, and I learned that you were not actually supposed to be on Stargate because you had tried out for another show as a goddess on Star Trek.
That's right.
And it fell through. And had that not fallen through, we would not have Hathor. And I thought that's amazing.
Isn't that funny? And in fact, it's not that it fell through. I auditioned
somebody
and
else.
got the pass. They hired someone else.
Oh no!
And at my costume fitting, this man came out looking terribly nonplussed and a bit sort of like, and I was like, hi, I'm Suanne Braun. I'm here for whatever the character's name was, goddess. And he was like, oh, could you just wait here 1 second? And then it was in this old warehouse, and there was like a little office with a glass window in the middle of the warehouse. And I could see him inside gesticulating to this other person. I was like, oh, well, that's not good. And finally he came out, he's like, this is so awkward. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so mortified. I don't know how to tell you this, but Vanessa Williams has been cast. And I was like, what?
Well, I mean,
I was like, but that's not, what? I said, but I signed the paperwork yesterday. What? Anyway, and the long and the short of it was that they did what they very often do, producers, they try and get a name attached.
Yeah.
And it was pre-Ugly Betty, but funny enough, it was just before Ugly Betty. I think that she ended up doing, was it Deep Space Nine or whatever that show? I can't even remember now.
Deep Space Nine, yeah.
Yeah. So she got that. They'd obviously asked her months in advance. Her people had gone, no, she's not doing that. They then went out and cast it. But funny enough, a similar thing happened to me with Hathor, because when I got the job, I didn't know any of that, but when I got the job of Hathor, Michael Greenberg is married to a South African girl. So she and I bonded, obviously, over our home country. But he used to be married to Sharon Stone. And he was telling me that prior to doing Basic Instinct, they'd wanted her to do it. And she was all set to do it. And then she was like, oh, I don't know if I should do TV. And then that summer, she went off and did Basic Instinct. And then by the time they were going to hire her, she was too famous. And her people were like, absolutely not. She's not doing television. So they got me.
Yeah. But we're so thankful for that because now,
and me too. Me too.
Like, wow, I would hope you would be happy with that.
Yes,
So-
no, and it was and also Hathor was a much better part.
So my question, so what got you started? I know pandemic and everything, but with your podcast. So what's the process through? You just like one day were like, I'm going to just do this. Like, I know COVID and that's where it went from, but
Yeah, I didn't really think about it very much. It was one of those serendipitous, perfect kind of aligning of the stars in that obviously the pandemic hit, and like everyone in the first initial stages, I was slightly polaxed by it and a bit kind of like, oh my God, what do we do? And every day just watching the death toll rise and just kind of going, oh my God, what is happening? This is insane. And then Instagram lives kind of took off, and everybody was doing Instagram lives. And I watched an interview where the woman hosting the interview was so dreadful, so dreadful. And I just thought, like, that is if I was the guest on that, I would be furious. Like, she had done no research. Technically, it was really bad because Instagram are a nightmare. They, I don't know how their thing works, but having had firsthand experience with it during the early days of Hathor hosts, it was a nightmare. Anyway, and I just remember getting really irritated. And then I went to bed and I woke up in the middle of the night and I just lay there and I thought, I should interview actors about being actors and life and career, because I started my career as a TV host, which very few people knew until
doing
Hathor
travel, right?
Yeah, I did a travel series, but also I did, they don't even do that anymore, but in the old days, they used to have, so the channel I worked for was like the first independent TV station in South Africa. And so they would have presenters, you were like the face of the channel, and you would welcome people. And then in between programs, like a continuity announcer, but now they do it all with voiceovers. You've got somebody going, coming up next, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air will be screening us. And what made me think of that? Like, that's not been on the air for 100 years. Anyway, and so we would just do it in person. And then every night from 6 to 8 p.m., because it was a bit like, I don't know how it is in the States, but like, you have to have like a TiVo box. So Mnet, the TV station, had a box, but between 6 and 8 p.m. every night, the whole country could watch for free. So it wasn't a paid service. So it was rather than paying for Netflix or something, it was free for those 2 hours. And obviously I was on TV 5 nights a week, so you get quite well known. And then I did the travel series, and then I was asked to do quite a lot of big events like the Miss World pageant, which I hosted twice, which was hilarious. I mean, just bizarre. Talk about like
Only imagine.
For women.
Oh God, I can't imagine.
Like, oh my God, this very serious voiceover kind of going, Miss Guatemala is a dentist major and in her spare time feeds children as she's running in the beach, slow motion across the beach with her breasts. But I'm like,
oh no,
guys, we can't actually say that over that. It's too much. But it was a brilliant experience as a host because it's live. And it's beamed to, God, I mean, in those days, I think they still get quite a high viewership, but in those days, it was insane. It was like the Academy Awards, massive viewership. So it was really like baptism by fire. But so I woke up on during the pandemic and I thought, I should just do something like talk to actors about being actors, and maybe about being on Stargate. And I was like, because that's probably, and I know so many wonderful actors from that time, and we've become friends at conventions. And I was like, who can I ask? And I was like, well, I bet Amanda would do it. She's always game for stuff and so lovely. Cliff will do it for sure. So-and-so will do it. And I was just like, oh, I know. I can't even. And that was that. And then I woke up, I kind of like had the thought at about 2 a.m. And I woke up the next day and I said to my husband, I'm going to do, I didn't even have a name for it. I was like, I'm going to just interview actors. And I wrote, like, normally I procrastinate. I'm terrible. But I sat down and I emailed everyone I knew, or got hold of them on Twitter, or got hold of them on Instagram. And I was cheeky. I was like, I'm going for broke, man. I wrote to Richard. I wrote to everybody. And I was like, I'm doing this. Think Graham Norton, but like, you know, in the comfort of your own home. I'll talk you through this. We'll chat, you know, it'll be like 40 minutes, 15 minutes for, I mean, I sort of figured it out as I went along. And I thought maybe 2 people would say yes. And then one by one, they all wrote back going, yeah, great. And I was like, oh, okay, now I have to do it. And so Hathor Hosts was born. And then again, the fandom have been phenomenal, because it was an amazing woman called Catherine Sigmund who contacted me when I was having so much drama with Instagram, not just with actors trying to connect, but like just terrible. Like the sound was always bad and we kept getting kicked off because I don't know how they compress their videos, and you have no control over it. You know, this is so much better.
Definitely.
And then she said to me, you should really think about YouTube. And I was like, yeah, I don't really do YouTube. I know nothing about YouTube. And she said, well, I'll sort a channel for you, and if you like, I'll run it for you for the beginning. And then I was a guest on an interview series about South Africans doing stuff overseas, and the producer of that blew me away, because I was like, what software do you use? And he said, oh, it's a thing called StreamYard. It's brilliant. It's sort of like Zoom, but with proper broadcast capabilities. So there's like a virtual waiting room, a green room for your guests, and it's great. And he's like, I'll happily produce your show. And I was like, look, I can't pay you. I mean, everyone's doing it for nothing. He's like, I don't want to do it for money. I'll do it for you because I'm a sci-fi fan. It'd be cool to talk to actors. So he got involved, and then the channel grew. And then I sort of said one night on Twitter, oh, we need a theme song. And people then sent me videos and theme songs and composed things and posters. Like there's this incredible woman called Dana who has created every single one of the posters from the moment we started. 32 shows down, and she's still doing it.
They're beautiful. I like scrolled through and looked at them, and they're beautiful. And I was like, I could just look at these and have these as like posters. Like they're beautiful.
Totally. They're stunning. And everyone is different. And she's so clever because she sort of takes the person. I don't know how she does it, but like she just always seems to pick the right color palette for that guest. And actually some of I think all the first season ones are up on Hathor Hosts, but we haven't done the second ones yet. And then at the end of the first season, a whole group of fans got together, which just completely blew me away and made me cry. But they basically made a poster out of all the posters for me. And amazing drawings people have sent me. I cannot tell you. Somebody sent me an incredible Hathor doll. She's amazing. And I've got a Funko Pop from people. Like, it's just been unreal. It just sort of took off, you know? And I'm so grateful because not only did it keep me sane and give me a point to do stuff in the very early days, but it's really reconnected me with some of the wonderful actors, but specifically with the fandom and with people like you guys. Like we probably would never, ever have had that had you not tweeted, you know, and said, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. You know, it's great.
Love that.
It's amazing.
That was a pretty cool moment. I'm not going to lie. Which was also facilitated by a different fan of yours, who actually I can pull that video up now.
Oh, this is like Christmas.
Tie it in. It's great.
I love it.
This is Ellie from the Czech Republic, who runs Hathor's Army or something like that. She has
Suanne Braun Army.
Suanne Braun Army.
Right.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And she follows us on TikTok and was instrumental in making this happen because she posted the very first clip of our
that's
podcast.
Right. And she talked about you guys talking about the show. That's right.
Yep. So
that's so cool.
She sent a video in for you to see. So here we go.
Cool.
Wait, did you hear the sound there? Did I do that?
No.
Hold on. Just make sure.
Okay, no worry.
This is new territory.
Listen, it's amazing that we can do it at all.
I know.
Right?
You think like 5 years ago, if someone had talked about this, imagine if the pandemic had been 5 years ago, we would have been
It's
screwed.
exactly what I said. We'll get back to that.
Yes.
All right, so here's Ellie.
It's Ellie from Suanne Braun Army, and I don't have a question, but I want to thank you for amazing work on Hathor host, and also thank you for answering my and other fans' tweets. You don't have idea how happy that makes me, and yeah, I cannot wait to see you at Comic-Con in Prague. So have an amazing day. Thank you.
Oh, and look, she's got a poster.
She does. She
Yeah.
actually, that's a paint by number painting that she did.
Yeah.
Oh, I think she sent me a thing the other day about that. Oh, that is so lovely. I mean, that's the other thing too, you know, like the amount of letters and emails that I've received from people. I mean, oh God, don't get me started because, you know, I cry at the drop of a hat, but like just the things that people have said to me about how my little show has helped them through some very bleak and dark times. And like, I was like, even if one person watched it and it helped one person, that's enough for me. That's just been like the gravy on the top. And, you know, Christina, as you were saying, like 5 years ago, we would not have been able to do what we're doing. So as awful as COVID has been, I always say, thank God we live in this exciting, technologically advanced time. Aren't we lucky? Because can you imagine if like cell phones had just been invented or like there was no email? What would we have done? People would have been so disconnected from one another.
It would have been,
we weren't allowed to
mental
see
health
each other.
would have been terrible.
Exactly.
I mean,
It's
was
already
bad,
bad.
so, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm really grateful for this and the fact that the whole world has kind of had to adapt to the steep learning curve of learning Zoom and like, but how wonderful that at least we can do it. We can see each other. You know, my 80-year-old parents who I've not been able to see since 2019 now.
Oh my goodness.
But we do this and there they are. My dad's figured it out and well, I can see them every week, which makes such a difference. So I'm really grateful for that.
I have a question. Actually, I have a comment and a question. So my comment is I read that you did a run of Private Lives. And I absolutely love Private Lives. So how was that? And also kind of to go in with that, is there a role out there that you would absolutely love to play? And I guess probably that comes more with theater because those are established roles that you know of, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I loved Private Lives. It's just, do you know, it still holds up today. It's still funny as hell. It's a brilliant part for a woman. You get to look beautiful and wear stunning clothes and then just this fantastically witty, acerbic, dry dialogue with this great, you know, and I was very lucky. My Elliot was brilliant as well. I loved it.
I love that play so much. I actually got to see in 2002 or 3 in New York. I saw Alan Rickman in it, and it was just
oh my God,
mind-boggling.
did you?
Yes.
Oh wow. Well, I remember that production. I think was kind of the version that we based ours on because the director had come to see it in London. And it was Lindsay Duncan and Alan Rich. That's right, Alan Rickman. Oh my God, and she's also brilliant. You know. Yeah. So wow, what an amazing thing to have. I would have loved to have seen him on stage. He was what a talent. What Absolutely. A talent.
But that play itself is just like you said, it's hysterical. I don't remember another play like that I've gone to and it being that laugh out loud funny. So
yeah. And what's really funny about it is also that it, apart from the fact that it was written so many years ago, and then when he wrote it, everybody was kind of like, oh, you know, it's so tired. And so, because there's a big class issue in the UK and everyone was like, oh, it's so typically upper class, you know, how dare they, privilege. But we put it on in 2002. And I was like, it's still utterly relevant because it's still about two people who love each other but can't live with each other, who drive each other crazy, but wonderfully witty. And then their two respective spouses who are complete, like the wrong people for them. It's just a brilliant, brilliant play. And it's a role I'd love to revisit, actually, now that I'm a bit older. So anyone wanting to produce Private Lives, I would love to.
Anyone out there?
Yeah, dream roles. It's a tricky one because it's changed, but like the two that have sort of stayed pretty constant for me is I would love to have a go at Lady Macbeth, just because it's such, and I've never done a Shakespeare, so I mean I'm really batting high there, but it's such a brilliant part, and I would just love to do it. Or Macbeth, actually. I wouldn't mind having a go at him. Like, why not?
Yeah.
I know that Cush Jumbo is going to be playing Hamlet this summer, and I was like, that's so great. And she's not playing it as a woman; she's playing it as a man. I think, or sort of like a non-binary. They're like it's contemporary. They're setting it now, so it'll be really interesting.
All that NB energy out in the entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Yes. So that's a role I'd be really interested in, and then musically, from a musical point of view, I would love to play Mama Rose in Gypsy, because it's just such a great part. She gets to sing amazing songs, and anything with a bit of humor as well is kind of, I quite like that.
Did I see that you also did Cabaret?
Yes, I did. I did an extraordinary version of Cabaret, and I'm not just saying that because I was in it, but it was. So there's a big theatre company here called the National Theatre, which is like the most respected theatre in the UK. And the man who is the artistic director there is a guy called Rufus Norris, and Rufus directed us. And he had this vision of the play, because the play is very different to the film. I don't know if you guys know that, but like the film made Sally Bowles American, and and obviously in the play she's English, and she's meant to be about 19 or 20. She's not meant to be very good. So the point is, you've got these amazing songs, but actually she shouldn't really be able to sing them. I mean, I quite love the fact that Liza sung the shit out of it, and for me, if I see it, I'm like, I want a Sally who can act and sing it. But so Rufus kind of took it, and I think turned a lot of the, there's a conception of musicals being like, jazz hands, everybody's happy, we're going to be cast, but we're happy, Nazis, woohoo. No. And he was like, So I remember very vividly our press night, because the way our version ended, our version opened with the letters of Cabaret, with a German spelling with a K, spelled across the stage. And all the cabaret kinder and all the characters kind of draped over it very sexually and sensually. And then the ending is the exact opposite. So the letters are reversed, and the MC pushes them over one by one as the set gets more and more barren and sparse, until eventually there's just a room with a door, and then he turns and all the kind of dancers take their coats off. And they're all huddled into this room, which obviously is meant to be a gas chamber. And then so the last thing you hear, and you just hear that, like the refrain of the "Feel calm," and very quietly, and you see all these people huddled together, and you just hear.
Wow! Oh goodness!
And then the curtain fell. It was just, and then the curtain came back up, and we were all standing there, and he had said to us, "I don't want anyone to move until they clap, and I don't care if you have to stay for 10 minutes." And this is our opening night, and the curtain came back up, and nothing happened, nothing. And I was like, oh God, they hate it. And we're all standing there in like dressing gowns, because everyone had to take I didn't have to take my clothes off, but the characters by this point being completely, everyone's gone through this massive change. And there was just this deathly silence, and the poor guy playing the MC and the Sally Bowles were like, and then one person at the back just went, "Bravo!" go. And it was like standing ovation.
Yay.
But it had a really, like, people got up and walked out, not on that show, but throughout the course of our run, and people talked about it. There was loads of, like, obviously the nudity made at the time, you know, a big thing because it was everybody, men and women. But people, there would be a like audible kind of at the end of the play, because it's quite shocking to see, but it was worked so brilliantly with the sort of the complete opposite of the beginning, where everybody's like, yeah, the Weimar Republic, and it's all amazing, to the end of what actually was happening, you know. So it was an extraordinary production to be a part of. And it's the first time I was spat on as an actress.
Oh.
Yes.
What?
Because Fräulein Kost is the Nazi prostitute. Well, she's a prostitute. And then she sides with the guy who is a Nazi commander. And there's a famous sort of sequence where they're in a party, and he comes in, and she's invited this guy. And so she takes him in. And as she takes his coat off, he's wearing the swastika. And she betrays the Jewish fruit seller, who is the lovely Herr Schultz in the story. She basically says to the German guy, to the Nazi guy, she's like, oh, well, he's a Jew, so take him now. So she is the catalyst for everything to start to go wrong. Because very shortly after that, Schultz is arrested, then his shop is broken into, then his relationship with the older woman falls apart, then Sally and Cliff's relationship falls apart, then the club is closed down. So it's a real kind of knock-on effect. And we were coming out of the theatre one night, and they were signing autographs and everything, and a man walked up to me and he went, were you Fräulein Kost? And I went, yes, because I had to wear a very, very red wig, almost like pink. So people didn't recognize me when I had my hair down. And I was like, yes, I was. And he spat in my eye.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, called me a Nazi bitch and walked away. And I was like, well, I guess I did my job pretty damn good.
Yeah. I was going to say, you played your part then, you did your job. Oh
exactly.
My God.
But yeah, so it is astonishing how people get so invested in stuff. But I love that. I mean, that's art, that's theatre, isn't it? And movies, we do it with films all the time. So yeah.
I remember in one of your episodes of Hathor Host, you were talking about how I believe you were on an airplane and a young boy recognized you as Hathor.
Yes.
And I thought that's so amazing, because that's something that we, you know, somebody wrote into us, and she's 13, and how like all these younger generations, like, as Rebecca put it, like Field of Dreams, if we build it, they will come.
Exactly.
But we're like passing it on to the next generation and passing on our love of science fiction or shows and movies onto other people, and it's still alive. And what has been your experience with interacting with Stargate fans? Do people recognize you a lot as Hathor when you go out? Is that something you experience a lot?
Not so much anymore. There was a time, very often if they hear my voice, they're like, or if the mask is quite good for hiding that. But funny enough, so there was the aeroplane, which was quite recent, and I was so shocked because he was so young. I was like, you're 9? And I was like, yay, he knows who I am. You know? And then recently I was getting a coffee because I was just like, oh my God, coffee, where I don't have to make it. And I had makeup on, but I had the mask on. And I went in and I could see the guy looking at me. And then I got the coffee and he said to me, Stargate. And I went, yes. And he went, Hathor. I went, yes, very good. And he went, I know those eyes anywhere. So that was lovely. My experience with fans has been incredible. Like I've really, you know, I think it's different if you're like mega, mega, mega famous, because I think then you become a free for all for people to comment on everything and anything. And I don't really know. I've been listening quite a lot to some podcasts, and I was listening to both Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Jamila Jamil talk about this, about how you suddenly become public property and people feel they have the right to comment about things that actually have nothing to do with them. But I've been so lucky, knock on wood, that I have not experienced hatred, or I've had like one or two. I mean, I've had a few unsolicited dick pics sent to me, but I
Oh
just
my
like
gosh.
delete. Oh yeah,
You're like,
I'm
and
like,
done.
really, guys? You think that's gonna get me?
Oh,
No. But
No.
mostly my fans are incredibly supportive and amazing, really chatty. I'm quite chatty, as you can see. So I quite like to engage with people. I've always liked to do that. Every now and then you'll get someone who's not fantastically aware of like where that like social barriers, or where what's comfortable and what isn't. But I think that's in life, not just with Stargate fans, but I think having, again, technology, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram has been astonishing, because we're able to connect in a way that we were never able to before. You know, if I think of when I was 20, and the only way to contact somebody who you adored was to like write to their agent, write a letter to their agent. Whereas now I could write to that actor, or I could find them on Twitter and be like, I think your work's amazing. They may see it, they may not, they might engage, they might not, but I can do it. I can try, I can, reach out. So I feel really privileged that my experience has been fantastic. And I don't have anything negative. Nothing negative has happened in terms of, certainly not this fandom with me. I've had a few things, every now and then somebody once wrote something about, oh my God, she's got so much older and doesn't look the same. And,
Well,
like,
duh.
yeah.
Fine.
So, and I was a bit like, should I respond to that? And then I was like, nah, because I've also got quite good at, and I've also got quite good at spotting the ones who say things desperate for you to engage, so that you are going to have an argument. And I'm like, I haven't got the time. And I didn't need to, because everybody else jumped on him. I was like, yeah, it was 25 years ago. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm still delighted when people go, you look the same. I'm like, oh, do I? Really?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yes, just the same.
Oh gosh. No. Well, I can tell you the fandom, especially our circle that we're on TikTok, is absolutely nothing but the most complimentary, wonderful people, and just adore and respect you just as an actress, and you just as like your character Hathor and how she's held up over time. But it's a really beautiful community that I think we as females felt really lucky to jump into, and are super thankful. And I think we have a few more videos that came through that Rebecca's got that we just want to make sure we show you, so you can see really what people have to say.
That's great. And yes, I was going to try and tweet actually about this tonight, but then I was like, I can't find you guys on Twitter. So
we don't have an official
we'll have
one,
to
but
get
we'll
all the
give you,
details.
Yeah, we'll give you.
You've got to get one.
I know. We need to do an actual show one. We do have a show email. If anybody has been watching this and has any comments, I get one plug-in every episode.
Right.
I have to do it every
Absolutely.
time.
So is this live? Are
No.
you guys doing this live, or is it okay?
No.
Maybe eventually, but not right now.
Yeah. I think if I were to do it again, I'm not sure I would do it live.
It's in some ways I see why it's a really cool thing. And actually I saw your first Hathor hosts live.
Oh my God, it was terrible.
In Instagram, I was actually sitting in an ambulance and we were slow that day. So I actually got to sit for a while and I watched the whole thing. And just like
it
Amanda
was not
tapping,
good.
not being able to like get on at first. And
Yeah.
it was just this big, but it was great.
It was, I mean, it kind of made me feel better that she couldn't figure it out either, because I was like, okay, it's not just me. But
because she's looking at it like your parent is looking at a phone or something.
Totally. And I love where she was like, wait, how do I, what? Anyway, we've all got better at it, thank God.
Yeah. And it's those moments, just like you said at the very beginning, like people love to see that in the podcast and the shows and everything. So
exactly. I mean, literally, I did for my Christmas episode, I did like a bunch of outtakes, which is just me going, huh? What? Ew, it's just like,
good stuff.
Anyway.
I love
All
it.
right. So we'll start off this little chunk of videos with Colonel Dave Dixon, who is the reason that we have a podcast, because he was the one that was really,
He like gently bullied us into it.
he was
These are,
so
and
Just so you know, those are our usernames. He's not actually a colonel.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
that's his Stargate TikTok character
Persona.
Because you can say any video 15, 60 seconds long on TikTok, but a lot of TikTok
Right.
is like kind of lip syncing and doing a lot of cosplay stuff. So like I do
Yes.
some cosplay
I think
stuff
that's-
too.
Yes. I saw a little, one of the videos where you flipped upside down.
Oh, you
Yes.
saw that one.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like,
Nobody
that's
else
cool.
did see that one. It's like
Oh,
still
well, I
sitting
did.
at like
But she
50
saw it.
views or something.
But it's I think that's why I haven't I went onto TikTok recently and I was just like I was like the granny going I was like I don't know what I'm doing. I have no
It's the most fun. Like even just being able to talk to you here, I feel like but experience it if you feel like it could get into your wheelhouse of time. But it's such a free for all of just unfiltered, raw, just people goofing off, being stupid.
Where do you
as fuck.
start? How do you know where to start? Because I was like, maybe I'll start with Stargate.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
Well,
We'll talk you
the-
through it.
The
We'll talk you
video
through
that
it.
I'm about to show you is Colonel Dave Dixon. That's his TikTok.
Okay, yes.
Showing all the view counts for all of the different Stargate hashtags that are on TikTok, so you can see just how popular the Stargate TikTok fandom, how it's doing. So let's see.
Amazing.
And the algorithm knows as you interact with certain content, it'll keep showing you more and more of it. So then it's easier for you to find stuff.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like Facebook or Instagram where they're interconnected to like your contacts and your data phone. It's truly like free sourced, and I don't know the technical term for it, but it starts with a raw, and it only builds the algorithm based on how you interact with it. It does not take any data from anything else. It just builds off of what within the app you interact with. So if you stay on this video longer, it's like, you probably like that kind of content. So we'll give you more of that. Or if you don't like it, you can just say, no, but I like that. And it filters and gets smarter like an AI. That's why you'll see lots of jokes around the algorithm, because everybody has their own algorithm and it like builds video content for them. Okay, here we go.
Cool. Okay.
So here's Colonel Dave. He was actually our first guest ever on the show. We had him on for a trivia episode. So
excellent.
And here he is.
It is such an honor for you to join us here on TikTok, and it is a great thrill to hear that you're going to be joining the podcast. I just want to let you know that the Stargate fandom is alive and well on TikTok, and I wanted to show you how we are thriving here. Here's some of the hashtags that the creators here have been using to do their Stargate videos. Stargate in general with 24.8 million views. Stargate SG1 with 6.9 million views. A newly created hashtag Stargate TikTok with 4 million views. Stargate OC with 1.9 million views. One of my favorites, Getting the Gate, 3.4 million views. SG1 with 6 million views. My own team, SG13, 1.5 million views. My character, Colonel Dave Dixon, 1.3 million. Stargate Command, 4 million. Thank you so much.
So that's kind of a breakdown of just how popular Stargate is getting.
That's insane. Yeah. My gosh.
I know. We're going to pull you in. We're going to work on this. We're going to pull you in there.
Yes. I'm going to go. And I'll do it. I mean, it's just at the time I was like, oh God, it's another thing to have to learn and get my head around. But maybe when Hathor Hosts finishes in 3 weeks' time, that might be the perfect segue to do.
Yeah.
Well, it's just it's a fun, just be yourself and just engage. And then you can shut it off and walk away. And it's not
also,
exactly.
I didn't make any videos for like the first year that I had TikTok. I just watched them because they were really nice, quick videos that I could watch, in between calls and stuff. So it was really easy media to look at. So
maybe I'll do one dressed as Hathor.
You will break TikTok.
Me and Kim Kardashian. I'll have to find the costume though. Where do I get that? I'll have to get somebody to make me. I'm just looking at the doll. She's up there. Look at the costume again.
All right. So now we've got Wraithbait, who is a very
very good
consistent Stargate TikToker.
Right.
And here we go. Wait, hold on. I keep forgetting. It keeps not necessarily sharing the sound every time, so I have to be careful. Make sure you can hear it. Okay, here we go.
Hi. So my question for the goddess of sex, drugs, and rock and roll is,
Right,
what was
baby.
your favorite moment while involved with the Stargate project? Whether it be while you were on set, dressing room, a blooper moment, just whenever someone mentions Stargate, what is that first feel-good memory that comes to mind? I would love to know. And thank you for being amazing. Love you on this show.
Oh, thank you. Wow, that's such a good question. I have two, and they're different. So my one, like the one memory I always have is coming out of the sarcophagus with, the famous shot with the hands.
The hand, yeah.
Yeah, and even though that was really difficult in that dress because I had to sit upright and I was like, I can barely move in it. Are you kidding? But it was like kind of something we did, I think, towards the end of the week. So I'd settled in and knew everybody. And I just remember them, like the whole crew were there and they helped me in. And I felt as an actress I'd arrived. You know, I was like, oh my God, this is all about me, this moment. Because it was all, they had to get the thing moving correctly. And everybody was like, are you comfortable inside? And Rick was on this, everybody was there. And when I got it right, like they were like, oh, everybody applauded. So it was such a lovely, like inclusive moment, but also as like the little girl in me who's wanted to be an actress from the time I was 3.
Aww.
I was like lying there with the lid on of the sarcophagus going, oh my God.
I love that.
I'm about to come jumping out the box, like, I've done it. So that's one memory. And then the other is because I love to laugh and I'm a bit of a jokester and a prankster myself, was all the jokes that we just used to make each other laugh. And I just remember, because also it's quite hard when you've got to pretend to be sexy all the time. And like, I'm not, it's not my natural state, sort of running around, so all the breathing stuff, when we were doing it, there would be like, just constant jokes and laughs. And I always have a very vivid memory of Michael and Richard, and I was sort of like doing my whole thing and I put my hand around his head and leant forward and did the like.
Yeah.
He just was like, sort of like made fart noises. And then they would corpse and they'd laugh and I'd laugh. And then we'd be like, take 2. And I go, again, and he'd be like, woo, lay off the onions, kid, just constant banter and laughs. And I think we all got on because I almost was like a little sister to them. I think I gave as good as I got. So I got him back when he was finally in the sarcophagus. And we had a whoopee cushion.
Excellent.
And so in one take, I leant forward and rather than kiss him, I just went like a bee. And of course, everybody, but it was his close up. And of course, he was just like trying not to break up. So there was lots of, I have to say, those were quite good fart noises.
I'm pretty impressed.
I know, I'm quite impressed. So those are my 2 feel-good moments. But yeah, it was a really happy time.
Well, that story rolls me right into the next video. So that's perfect. You're very good with these transitions from one video to another.
Very good.
This one is from Sky. Let's see here. Sound. I am sharing sound. Okay.
Excellent.
I'm Sky. I'm from Earth. I'd like to start by thanking you for the incredibly cool presence that you bring to Stargate SG-1 and for inspiring the newer generation of Stargate fans. I want to be an actor and a filmmaker, and so I would love to hear how you came to be working on the show, how you got the role. I'd also like to know what it was like getting freaky with Daniel. I mean, Michael Shanks. But seriously, if you could just, break this down for me, what that was like. I'm in love with Daniel, so these are mostly jokes. But you are a beautiful queen, and I want to thank you for the impact you've had on my life and the part you've played in making Stargate SG-1 so special. Also, this is my best Hathor look, so let me know what you think.
Yes, love it. So cool. So cool.
That's so funny. It was
Um,
that exact scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was.
really.
That's why I was like, well, we got the right video for this one.
Yeah. Look, any day where you have to kiss Michael Shanks is not a bad day at work, you know. And I was so lucky because I got to have them all. But that said, you know, it's always like, in reality, it's always a bit awkward because you don't really know the person very well. And you're like, oh, is it okay? I'm going to be coming in now. And, you know, there were no intimacy coordinators then. But yeah, I loved playing Hathor. I think part of what was so fantastic about her is, and in a way, and I've told this story before, and I'm so gutted they cut it out. But when I come back through the Stargate, and Rick's like, oh God, not her again. And there's a scene where I look at Amanda and I say to her, you're an incredibly beautiful woman.
Oh,
And
yes.
in one take, I had the thing on her face, but in one of the takes, I leant forward and I licked her cheek. And she was like, it was so good. And everyone was like, oh my God, this is so good. And I was like, yeah, why should it just be like, this is a system lord, man. She would have cottoned on like that. Okay, so the women aren't being affected by the seduction thing. I'm going to have to up my game. I'm going to have to do something else. And, I think you should answer that. Hello, she's busy. Oh, was that you? Mine's just gone too.
Not mine.
No, I'm sorry. I have all these alarms set
it's
for
all
work.
right.
And I didn't shut them off.
Don't worry, I'm only teasing you. But so, yeah, it's such a shame that they cut that out because I just think that would have been such an interesting dynamic. But I think they obviously weren't ready for that then. But yeah, I mean, any day, as I said, where you're getting to snog Michael Shanks is pretty good. And that scene was great. I mean, like, I loved playing her, and I loved the fact that she was so unapologetic in what she wanted. She completely was like, right, I will do whatever I have to. I will sleep with whoever I have to. I have to get what I need. And I'd never really played anyone like that at that point. And I love that. I love that she was, and then also that she has this fantastic history of being the goddess of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But, you know, this, because of course in actual Egyptian mythology, she's much more benevolent and kind, and she's to do with fertility and yes, wine and stuff like that. But I loved that they kind of flipped that, and that she was just slightly, not slightly, quite decadent, and unapologetically so. Because I was like, if that was a man, nobody would have batted an eyelid about that.
No, right.
But the fact that it was a woman being so sexually forward and unapologetic in what she needed and wanted and was going to get seemed to make people, and it's quite interesting, I don't read any of the fan stuff online, but once or twice I was doing research for Hathor Host, I was looking for something else, and I came across a kind of Reddit thread where somebody was like, oh, I hate that episode, and I was a bit like, oh no. And she said I hated it because she basically raped Daniel, and I was a bit like, oh God, I never really thought about it from that point of view. So I kind of see that. But I don't think it was that. I mean, I don't look like that, but I don't think it was that in my head. But yeah, so that scene was great. And he's a complete pro and a lovely guy. We all just got on so well. Like, I remember arriving, I think, in Vancouver on like the Friday, and I went for my costume fittings and I checked into the hotel. And then I was invited to a party at Chris Judge's house on the Saturday night. We all hung out together, drunk a lot, went for lunch and out to dinner on the Sunday, and then was off to work on the Monday. But they completely included me, you know, it was so lovely.
That's awesome.
So
That
yeah,
scene,
good memories.
That scene where you tell Amanda, like, you're an exceedingly beautiful woman. When I was doing my TikTok rewatch, I think I included that, and I was like, Hathor is trying to take over the world, but she can't help but be like, damn girl, you hot.
Exactly.
And I'd be like, you know what?
Exactly.
Same. I get it.
Completely. And I was like, I wish they hadn't shied away from that. I'm now on to water, everyone, in case they hear this. I wish they hadn't shied away from that, because I think that would have made it really interesting if she'd had because I definitely think that, like, I've said this also on Twitter and stuff, because loads of people have said to me, like, how would you feel about her having a relationship with another woman when she came back? I was like, I'd be totally up for that. Yeah. Bring it on.
Yeah.
It would be so
I'm all for
interesting
that.
too, because Hathor's like actual
Exactly.
powers don't affect women, so that would add that whole extra level.
Yeah, and if there is a new Stargate, because there is talk that there might be,
don't say anything that people are going to completely misinterpret, and then tomorrow be.
Well, no, I mean, I know nothing. I genuinely know nothing, but everyone keeps talking about it, and you know, I only know from what I've seen on Twitter, like everyone else, that I know Joe Malozzi has said that Brad's in talks with MGM. Although today or yesterday I see that MGM have been bought by Amazon, so who knows? You know,
I feel like that's probably more hopeful. So
yeah, really,
yeah.
Well, I really hope if it does come back, God, I'd love to be in it. So you know, it would be lovely to make an appearance again.
Oh,
I joke because I was watching Amanda Tapping's interview on the Companion app that she did.
Yes,
and she said one random thing about, hey, yeah, they told me if this ever happened, would you want to do it? And she was like, yeah, totally, I want to direct some too. And then like, the very next day, the entire world was splattered with Amanda Tapping's coming back to Stargate, and it's like the first time that I think firsthand I've seen like that false information go forward.
Yeah.
Like, from interviews. So it's pretty
fake news.
Correct. Fake news.
Yeah, believe me, I wish with all my heart I had an inside track, but no, I do not.
I have two more people to show you really quickly, and then we will let you go, because you've been so kind and generous with your time with us.
No, it's a pleasure.
I would feel bad if I did not show you only two of these people. So I want to make sure that I include everybody.
Okay.
All right. This one you've already answered, I believe. So let's just make sure. This is Carter Scully.
Okay. Good name.
Yep. Two good women names in
really
name.
Queen of my heart.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, like, what is it like being an actor and having that kind of legacy? Because Hathor was only in it for like 3 episodes at the very kind of beginning of the show's run. Like, did you have a feeling kind of when you were on set, when you were playing the character, that this is something that's going to endure, or was it just kind of a yeah, I'm an actor, I have a job? Like, what is that? How does it feel to have that kind of a legacy, that a character you played like 20 years ago is still such an integral part of the Stargate legacy? Bye.
So cute.
Oh, so cute. From Northern Ireland also. Yeah, it was, as I said, I kind of answered that in the sense that, you know, you don't, initially I approached it very much like, well, I'm an actor, I've got a job. Had no idea it would have the impact it did, the series, and certainly not the role. And I am still, 25 years later, staggered on a daily basis how the character is loved. And you know, I like in some ways I'm like, I can't quite believe it. Like, I don't really know why. I don't understand what it was that made it connect with people, or why, because I've also heard that it's some of the producers' least favorite episode. So like, you know, I don't know. I certainly didn't really think about the ramifications, or like the kind of sexual connotations, or what it was like, or the women in sci-fi. I didn't think about any of that until much, much later. And it's only really now, as like, again, having been doing Hathor hosts for the last year and a half, that it's made me even more realize how people love the series and the fandom, how fantastic they are. And then like today, somebody tweeted, and I was like, that's so astonishing. It was tweeting about something to do with Stargate, but they tagged Brad, Joe Malozzi, Michael Shanks, Amanda, and me. And maybe because I'm quite verbal on Twitter, but more and more I'm being, and I thought that's really interesting because like, I don't know why, for some reason, this character just really connected with people. And I'm so delighted she did. I'm so delighted she did. Because it is an absolute pleasure and privilege to sort of carry on the dialogue and the chat and to meet people and, you know, fans who have loved the series and loved her. And what's also been quite interesting is every now and then people have kind of come to me and gone, I didn't like Hathor. Like I liked the episode, but I didn't like you. But I really like you, Suanne. Like you have made me fall in love with the character. So that's also great because it's like a bit of a, you know, sometimes they've loved the character and then have got to know me as the person, or other times it's vice versa. So yeah, I'm really pleased about that.
Excellent.
Awesome.
I have one last person, and I have actually a 50-second video and a 15-second video, but she might hate me for showing the 15-second video, but this person's TikTok
you can show them
handle,
both. I don't mind.
Oh, no. I meant the creator of the video, but it's public on TikTok, so I grabbed it.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I grabbed it is because this person's handle is actually Hathor the librarian. So she has a video that she sent us that's a comment to you, not even a question. And then I had to show you another video of hers. So
cool.
Here we go. This is the message to you.
Okay.
Hi. My name is Annie. I follow you on Twitter. You may have seen one of the many thousands of messages I sent you on Twitter, which you've responded to. Thank you. You are so kind. Yeah, I named one of my beehives after you, and maybe if I ever get to meet you in person, I'll get to bring you a jar of Hathor's honey. But in the meantime, I just wanted to say thank you. Your character is the only one that I cosplay so far. And I made a Twitter friend thanks to you. Her name is Delphine, and she made me these. We met because of Hathor hosts, and she was making these, and I adore her. She's from France, and I'm gonna go visit her someday. So I wanted to say thank you because you're amazing, and I love you.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Delphine is, what a talent. My gosh, she's drawn amazing work for me, and designed loads of pins for Hathor hosts, which I've got upstairs. But how lovely. Oh, you guys, that's so sweet. Thank you.
It's just a love fest for Suanne Braun and Hathor. But it's to me, it's been really amazing the videos that we did get from people on TikTok, just how much they talked about everything that you've done, especially with Hathor hosts, and how much more connected they feel. And we've talked about this in the past hour and a half, but just to see that reinforced by all these other people too has been really cool in seeing these videos. And of course,
and for me too. And you know, I'm so pleased. Like your podcast is just, I'm sure, going to go from strength to strength. I got David Reed, who does Dial the Gate. He got in touch with me because obviously for years he did interviews at conventions and things, but he got in touch with me and he was like, so I had this idea to kind of do a show about Stargate, just because he said, like, yours is more about the actors, and obviously Stargate factors into it, but it's more about actors approaching their work. And he said, but I was just wondering, like, I would so love to do it, but I'm really nervous. Would you? And I was like, do it. Do it. The fandom will love it. And I said, who cares if only 2 people watch? I mean, it won't be 2, it'll be 20,000. Yeah. And like overnight I was like, you got more followers than me on YouTube.
So good.
But yeah, I'm so pleased for him. So pleased. And this is what it's about. It's about being able to share the love of something that has impacted your lives, our lives, all of us, and to spread that joy. And my goodness, are we ever in need of it right now? You know,
absolutely. So here's our last little 9-second video. And this, it's Annie again, and it's a cosplay video. And
Okay.
it kind of, not only is it a cosplay of Hathor, but it kind of also demonstrates that side of TikTok a little bit, the whole lip syncing thing. And
cool.
To kind of give you a little
a taster.
window, a taste, if you will, into that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Have you
I love
heard
it.
of her? Hathor was the Egyptian goddess of fertility, inebriety, and music. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll? In a manner of speaking.
I think that was her
I
first,
love it.
I think that was her
Love it.
first cosplay outing as Hathor. So
That is brilliant. Oh my God. I've got to get on TikTok now. You've made me want to do it.
It's so much fun. It really is.
It's just a free for all. It's a clusterfuck of free for all, but it's fun.
I love
It's a good
it.
Time. It's, do it. We're there.
And you will be my first. Do you follow people onto the?
Oh,
is it the
yeah.
same sort of-
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'll be you.
We can drop our
The
handles.
first people I follow. Yes.
We will email you our usernames.
Okay. Cool.
You can find us.
Follow
Yeah.
all of us.
Yes, because
Yeah.
we're mostly incognito. We don't use our real names on there.
Right.
Ah.
So,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No, we'll send them to you. That would be fun.
I can't wait. Cool.
Oh, thank you so much for taking this time with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
really appreciate
been an
it.
absolute pleasure, ladies. It really has.
gosh.
It's always a joy to talk to women, and it's been so lovely just to spend some time with you and talk about Stargate, and and to also hear about your lives and everything. So thank you.
Especially thank you, because your episode will only be our 10th episode. So it's pretty exciting that even though we're still getting our footing and figuring things out, we really appreciate you coming on and talking to us and giving us a chance to do a little more than most of our episodes are episode recaps, but with commentary on themes and things like that. So it's kind of a different style episode for us. So we're so excited
Cool.
that you could join us.
Well, it's, as I said, it's been a pleasure. And do let me know when it airs, because I
course.
will make sure I tweet about it and get everyone to come and listen and support you.
We'll try to have a
Thank
Twitter
you.
for the show by then, I promise.
Yes. Okay, that's a deal.
Did I never say the email? Did I set up to say it and I never said it?
I think,
you never
you
said it.
forgot.
Oh, if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, love letters to us, anything, you can email us at 3friesshortpodcast@gmail.com. And that is
Yes.
either the number 3 or the word 3. All right, I got my plug in.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Love it. And if they love letters, I will read them out in the accent of your choice.
Ooh,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect.
So every time we close out the show, we have a tradition of saying close the iris, and because you are our special guest, we would like you to close us out today and close the iris.
So you have to do it the most dramatic, like you're running for your life. Close the
Oh, I was going to do it as Hathor.
Oh, you
Oh,
can
do it as
totally
Hathor.
do
Okay,
that.
I'm so sorry. Yes, it's Hathor. I'm so sorry.
Okay. You kneel before your goddess and close the iris.
Oh my gosh. I loved it. Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, guys.
Oh,
Thank
it's been
you. Well, listen.
amazing.
Oh, it's been a joy, an absolute joy.